This is a short video to show how to import and synchronize accelerometer-based data with video using the Elan data annotation tool. So here I have two bits of data. One's a video file and one's some accelerometer data. If I open the accelerometer data, you can see it's in comma-separated values. And I know the sampling frequency is exactly 100 Hz. So that's 10 milliseconds in between samples. The video file can be any file that has the codecs installed on the host PC. In this case, MP4 is fine. First steps of doing this is to open Elan, new, and add a media file. So a media file is a video file. So here I'm going to add my MP4. This brings up the default Elan workspace, and for those not familiar, it's got a place for annotations at the bottom and a video player at the top, and it can happily play through the video. And we can see in this case the video contains a horse riding around the field. The next thing I'm going to do is import the accelerometer data, and this is treated as a linked file. So we hit linked files and secondary linked files. I can add in my accelerometer CSV file here and apply. This prompts Elan to add a track panel into my workspace, and for those not familiar with the Elan workspace, track panels are used to display data. So I need to add some tracks. I can do this by right clicking on the track panel and configuring. Here Elan shows me what my data looks like in 4 columns. So the first one is time, then X, then Y, and then Z respectively. So I'm going to tell Elan that my data is continuous, because I know the sampling frequency is 100 Hz all the way through, and it's in column 1. The next thing I'm going to do is give the track a name. In this case it's going to be X-axis, and I'm going to say the X-axis is in column 2. I'm going to ask Elan to scale the track based on the range of the data, and finally I'm going to give the X-axis the colour red. The next thing I'd like to do is do the same for the Y, this time in column 3, and I'd like to give this the colour green. And finally I'd like to do the same with the Z in column 4, this time with the colour blue. Here we can now see I've got 3 tracks, X, Y, Z axis, and I can change these tracks or delete them as necessary. So I close the configure tracks dialog. You can see Elan has automatically placed 1 track in there, but I would like to also add in the Y and the Z tracks as well. So if I go back, right click, add track Y, add track Z. I can now scroll through, and as I play the video it automatically scrolls through the data. This is fine, but unfortunately the video isn't synchronized with the actual data. So to do this, to make the synchronization, I'm going to center media synchronization mode. So this is a different workspace, and I'm presented with 2 players, one on the left containing the video and one on the right containing the actual data. This is player 1 indicated here. This is player 2 indicated here. So when I collected this data, to aid synchronization, I placed a data marker simply by asking the person collecting the data to make some hand claps at the start and at the end. So the first step, I'm going to use these data markers, is to find them in the video So I scroll to the start and I can roughly find them. So I'm looking for 5 claps in the data. What I'm going to do is scroll back and try and find the exact point on the first clap, and then I'm going to go back and try and find this in the data. So I'm going to use a frame button and I'm going to pause exactly as the hands touch, which is there. And then I'm going to highlight player 2, and now I'm going to try and find that bit of data in the actual data stream. So to do this, I can zoom out on the data and I can scroll through and try and highlight the bit where I think it might be, which is here. If I zoom into the data, I can clearly see 5 spikes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to synchronize on the first clap, which is exactly here. The next step is to hit apply current offsets. Now, if I hit each one of these spikes, the hands should be together, which they are. If I now go back to the annotation mode, as I scroll through the data, I can be assured the data that I'm seeing here is related to the actual video that I've captured, and I'm ready to make my annotations. To do this, I must first configure some tiers. And the first tier I'm going to call is called walking. So here I have a tier, and if I zoom out, I can go through the data, and everywhere where there is walking in the video, I'm able to pause and mark where the walking is occurring. So as a horse comes into view, I can pause the video, I can highlight, and I can drag until the horse goes out of view. And I can make an annotation here by right clicking, a new annotation here. This allows me to say this section of the data is walking. And this concludes this short demo.